Understanding Israel Foundation explains in this episode the Jewish holiday of Sukkot. Judaism is very much an indigenous religion, which has a universal God, yes, but a particular focus in and on the land of Israel, or Eretz Israel in Hebrew. In many ways, Judaism is a tribal practice connecting the Jewish people to their native homeland. One specific way this land-focused practice of Judaism is demonstrated is through the Shalosh Regalim, or the three pilgrimage festivals. For each of the Shalosh Regalim, in ancient times when the Jewish temple stood in Jerusalem, Jews would fulfill the commandment to journey to Jerusalem, and they would descend on the holy city during the three festivals. These three festivals were Pesach, or Passover, Shavuot, which celebrates the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai and the constitutional birth of the Jewish people, and Sukkot, or the Festival of Booths. Today, although the temple no longer stands, each of the three festivals continue to be celebrated by the Jewish people. At sunset on September 29, 2023, the pilgrimage festival of Sukkot will begin. Sukkot is the Israeli, Sfardi, and Mizrahi pronunciations for the festival. Ashkenazi Jews pronounce it as Sukkos. It is alternatively translated as Sukkot with K's or Sukkot with C's. Sometimes it's even spelt with an H at the end. All of these are valid. Sukkot is often translated into English as the Feast of Tabernacles, but the term Feast of Booths is probably more applicable, as it harkens to the temporary booths the Israelites lived in as they camped and decamped in their 40-year journey from Egypt to the land of Israel. The Sukkah is a temporary dwelling that Jews erect and semi-live in during the days of Sukkot to commemorate the post-Exodus wandering period in the desert. It resembles a booth in shape and form. In Israel and in Reformed Jewish communities in the diaspora, Sukkot is celebrated for 7 days, but for all other diaspora communities, Sukkot is an 8-day holiday. On the first and last days of Sukkot, the laws of Shabbat apply, even if these days don't fall on Shabbat. So Jews come to a complete stop on these days to rest and celebrate the beginning and the end of the holiday. Interestingly, this year, the first day of Sukkot falls on Shabbat. The intermediary days between the first and last days are known as the Chol HaMoed. Sukkot involves the building of temporary shelters, Sukkot being the plural and Sukkah being the singular. It is a commandment to take one's meals in the Sukkah. In Israeli restaurants and at kosher restaurants in the diaspora, Sukkot are erected outside of the establishments, and it is commonplace to see people eating in them and to eat in them yourselves. Many families decorate their Sukkot. Traditional autumn themes are prevalent. Although a restaurant in Jerusalem has decorated their Sukkot with a Barbie theme this year, given the popularity of the hit summer movie with the same name. Children are often put in charge of the decorations, so each sukkah is representative of the family or the community who will eat in it. The sukkah itself is a three-sided booth, with a covering on top. The sukkah is meant to be open, as in Judaism, the idea of hospitality, Hachnasat Orchim, is in itself a supreme commandment. We take note of Abraham, whose tent was open to the mysterious visitors who came to see him after he was circumcised. In Jewish tradition, Abraham's tent was open on all sides, welcoming guests from far and wide. This idea of welcoming guests continues in the practice of Judaism today, but it has specific relevance to the practice of Sukkot. Ushpizin, the Aramaic word for guests or visitors, is a commandment for Sukkot, and Jews welcome everyone into their Sukkot during the festival to enjoy meals, to sing, to chat. The idea of Ushpizin, to welcome the stranger, underpins much of the Bible's concern for the stranger, the downtrodden, the oppressed, the widow, and the orphan. Sukkot, in many ways, can be viewed as a holiday which reminds us of the transient nature of life and impresses upon us the importance to care for others who are experiencing their own transitory troubles. Indeed, the Sukkah itself is meant to demonstrate that nothing we have in this life is permanent, not houses or riches, not poverty or troubles. Everything changes. Sukkot seems to remind us that the only thing which is constant and enduring is our relationship with God, and our love for others should reflect this as we invite guests into the Sukkot. That Sukkot falls in autumn is not a coincidence. Sukkot is also a harvest festival, a time to celebrate the gathering of the crops. This is why it is also referred to as Chag HaAsif, the festival of the ingathering. One of the commandments for the festival of Sukkot is to gather together the following plants: an etrog, a citrus fruit native to Israel; lulav, palm branch; hadas, 3 myrtle branches; and arava, 2 willow branches. The branches are then joined together and referred to as the lulav. The etrog is held separately. These are known in Hebrew as the Arbat Haminim, the 4 species. There are special prayers to say whilst waving the species in 6 directions: east, south, west, north, up and down, to symbolize that God is everywhere. Each day during Sukkot, there are special processions in synagogues where the lulav and etrog are held. These processions remind practicing Jews of the processions around the altar of the ancient temple in Jerusalem. The processions are called Hoshanas, and the prayers are recited with the plea to God to save us. Understanding Israel Foundation wishes a Chag Sukkot Sameach, Happy Sukkot, to the Jews of the world on the festival of Sukkot.